Hey there everybody, what's up? It's Ryan, aka thelovebat, and I'm just here to go ahead and I'm just making a video response here real quick to AGentertainment's video review of Shrek Forever After, the fourth movie in the Shrek series, which is also in 3D, as you probably already know. And I was just going to go ahead and give a quick review here. It's more reiterating more what AG said in his video, what Austin said. But I just wanted to go and give my own little take on it, and I do have a picture here of the ticket I have, just to prove that I did see it in 3D and that I did in fact see the film. And the reason why I'm just recording over a picture or whatnot is simply because the gaming headphones that I have, the audio quality is so much better. So I decided to go and skip the webcam until I get either a better, well, I'm not sure if I can get a better webcam, but what I'll probably do is get a better camera that's far better suited for, making videos and stuff. And for now, I'll just go ahead and use the headset because the quality is actually enough to where it doesn't spark in the audio quality and stuff like that, so that way it's more understandable and tolerable. Now, my take on the film is that pretty much what AG said in most of his review is pretty much true. I mean, it's not near as good as, the first or the second one. I thought the first one was awesome, second one was really good, and technically I haven't actually seen the third one yet, just because I haven't gotten around to it, find a copy and whatnot. But I gave the fourth one a shot and went to see it in theaters. Now, like I said earlier, AG is pretty much right on, and what happens is that in this film it pretty much doesn't really introduce that much more to the series, and that's pretty much what hurts this film the most, is that you get to see a few new villains but you don't really get to see any new characters, and there's not really much of a story at all it is just basically like a time machine like Back to the Future, and it's set in medieval times to a more believable setting with the time traveling and stuff like that, pretty much, because that's pretty much all that it is, and that's not really giving away any spoilers anyway. And you have Rumpelstiltskin, which actually is probably the most interesting character in this film, even though I kind of want to hate him, but to be honest, I just can't resist, because just the way that he acts and just the all the antics that he does in the movie kind of did crack me up. And there are just, some one-liners that were kind of good, but they just weren't all that good compared to the first few that I saw. And it is really awesome to see it in 3D, but like AG said, I wouldn't recommend it either. And what he said about wearing the glasses and the shading of the light is actually quite true. And I should have mentioned this probably when I saw Avatar in 3D, because it did kind of dim the light a little bit, but it did make it more presentable and it added to it. But in terms of colors, it didn't seem as clear or as bright or as just rainbow like colors where you can see all the colors around the screen, and all the visual features were actually seemed improved in 3D, but not sort of bright, as colorful and as fantasy like as you would probably want it to be. And because of that, it just didn't really feel sort of like the first Shrek movies I watched, and just on a plain old television and whatnot. And I just have to be honest here, but just some of the characters just seemed kind of boring and plain, because, like I said, it doesn't really add anything to the first several films, and it didn't really end in a really good way, because this is supposed to be the last film. And, I guess I'm not surprised that they did a fourth film, but it didn't add anything to it, and it didn't really end on a unique note that would make you think, wow, this is just such a great ending to the series. This really capped it off. This was great. It wasn't really. And some of the characters were underused. I mean, it did seem like that some of the things just didn't really make sense. Why would this happen? Why would that happen? And it just didn't really seem to fall together for me. And like I said, Rumpelstiltskin's probably the only really interesting character that's actually a new character. And there weren't really very many new characters in general. There were just the witches, Rumpelstiltskin, some more ogres, and pretty much that was almost it. I mean, you do get to see characters in different lights, but it's not really much of a change, and it doesn't really add anything to it. It doesn't even make it more interesting, to be honest, and it's not exactly as funny as I had hoped it would be, because I'd seen a preview not too long ago for it, and I thought that it might have been funnier than it ended out to be. So that's why I went to go and see it and give it a chance. But I would recommend that you stay away from it in theaters, even if it's just to go ahead and see it in 2D, because it's better to just save your money, because it's not really going to add much to it. Sure, seeing it in 3D is nice for the time, because you can say that you saw it in 3D, but eventually there's going to be 3D TVs that come out down the road, and you're going to be able to see it in 3D in your own home. So just save your money on the ticket price and just buy it in Blu-ray, which is probably going to be just as good as 3D anyway. Like I said, the visuals were great, the animation was awesome, but in terms of story and just the movie itself, it just was kind of lacking to me. It just didn't really feel interesting at all, and there weren't even very many people in the movie theater anyway. So I mean, even when people did laugh, it's not like there was really a lot of it anyway. So maybe just people just lost interest in this one. Maybe the filmmakers just wanted to go ahead and milk it out and just try and make as much money as they possibly could before trying to go to the next big idea. And I just don't know why they decided to do this one. Now, Shrek himself, you would think with Mike Myers would still be a good character in this movie, but again, I still saw him as sort of uninteresting. He had some of the best lines and dialogue in the movie, but it just wasn't very consistent to where I thought that, he could be more of a believable character like he was in the first one, to where you could really think that he was saying what he was meaning, or, like the stuff, his motives in the movie really fits to, it just seems kind of cliche almost. Like you wouldn't really expect Shrek to just go out of his, comfort zone just for something that seems so simple and something that, everyone would probably want themselves, but then he would go out of his way to not have it. And it just, he wants the world to make sense, but what he does sometimes just doesn't really make sense, if that makes sense. Overall, this really isn't really a horrible movie, but it's nowhere near great, so I'd probably only give it maybe, I don't know, 6 out of 10 if I had to give it a rating. I'm not exactly as big on the ratings because it's still more of an opinion, but I'd still say avoid this movie and just go ahead and rent it on DVD or Blu-ray, because it's probably only a film that you're going to see once and you're not going to really enjoy it much after that. You just stick to the first two, or the third one if you just so happen to like that one. I might have to check that one out and rent it too. But again, this one doesn't really add much to it. You're not really missing out on much if you don't see it, so I would go with what AG said and just stay away from it for now and skip out on it and just wait for it to go on Blu-ray and DVD and to go and rent it. Well, I really appreciate any of you that might be watching this, and if you haven't already checked out AG's review, go ahead and do it. He goes more in depth on what the actual story is, and I just don't like to give away as much spoilers in a review unless I actually have the footage to show it up a little bit, to show what the movie's sort of like firsthand. But this is just sort of reiterating what he said anyway, and just to encourage people to just stay away from it until it comes out into the stores. So that's pretty much just about it. Go check out his review. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.